November 13th, 1942, Iron Batam Sound, off Guadalcanal. The night is thick, humid, and alive with sound. Diesel engines thrum low beneath the decks of Japanese destroyers, slipping south through the Solomon Islands, their wakes barely visible under a moonless sky. On the bridge of the destroyer Akatsuki, Lieutenant Commander Yasuo Kubo grips the railing and peers into the darkness. Somewhere ahead, American ships are rumored to be lurking, but Kubo is calm, almost amused. For months now, Japanese officers like him have come to trust the night. They trust their optics, their training, and above all, their belief that the Americans are clumsy, inexperienced, and poorly armed, especially underwater, in wardrooms from Rabaul to Truk. Jokes have circulated about American torpedoes, how they run too deep, how they strike with dull, hollow thuds, how they fail to explode. At all, one officer reportedly calls them Bakudan no Uso-lying bombs. Another says the Americans might as well throw beer bottles overboard. The laughter isn't bravado, it's based on experience. Earlier that year, in January 1942, the Japanese tanker Shinkoku Maru had been attacked off the Dutch East Indies. American torpedoes streaked in, white wakes visible even in daylight, an amateur's mistake. Several struck the hull, none detonated. The tanker escaped with superficial damage. Her crew stunned not by the attack, but by how ineffective it was. Stories like that spread quickly through the Imperial Japanese Navy, and now, as Akatsuki cuts through Iron Bottom Sound, Kubo believes that even if American submarines or destroyers are out there, their torpedoes will betray them. Japanese weapons, especially the Type 93 Long Lance, are another matter entirely. Oxygen-fueled, long-ranged, devastating. Night battles are where Japan excels. Below decks, sailors move quietly past racks of those Long Lance torpedoes, their bronze warheads gleaming faintly in red battle lights. The men trust them. They trust their commanders. They trust that tonight, like so many nights before, the Americans will fire first and miss. But this story does not begin with Japanese confidence alone. Thousands of miles away, months earlier, the war had opened with catastrophe for the United States Navy. Pearl Harbor, the Philippines, Java Sea, one defeat after another. And beneath the surface, literally unseen, another failure was unfolding. American submarines had gone to war, armed with the Mark 14 torpedo, a weapon designed in secrecy, never properly tested under combat conditions. On paper, it was formidable, long-ranged, powerful, guided by a magnetic exploder meant to detonate beneath a ship's keel and break its back. In reality, it was a disaster. Submariners reported torpedoes passing cleanly under targets. Others struck with audible impact sklang and failed to explode. Some detonated prematurely, erupting in useless plumes of water far from their targets. Patrol reports stacked up. Complaints were filed. Men risked their lives to deliver these messages. At Pearl Harbor, Rear Admiral Charles, February 20th, 1943. Pacific Ocean, north of the Solomon Islands, 17 fathoms below the surface. The submarine USS Wahoo glides through black water. Inside, the air is stale, thick with diesel oil, sweat, and the sharp Thames of coffee gone cold. Commander Dudley Mushmorton stands in the conning tower, one hand resting on the periscope grip, the other clenched behind his back. His jaw is tight, his eyes are furious. This is not his first patrol, it is his third, and like the first two, it has been marked by frustration. Moments ago, Mortuan had lined up a perfect shot on a Japanese transport fat slow, silhouetted against the sunrise. Range calculated, gyros set, firing, angle textbook, perfect. 4 Mark 14 torpedoes had left the tubes in clean sequence. 3 ran under the target, the 4th struck amidships with a sound every submariner dreads. A hollow metallic thunk, no explosion. Now, the transport steams on, unaware how close it came to death. Morton lowers the periscope slowly. No one speaks. Around Newham, the control room crew waits for the outburst. They've seen it before, fists slammed into bulkheads, curses hurled at invisible engineers half a world away. But today, Morton says nothing. Instead, he turns to his executive officer and says quietly, "We are not missing. The torpedoes are across the Pacific. Other skippers are reaching the same conclusion. Captain John, Red Ramage. Lieutenant Commander Lawson, Red Ramage. Actually, Ramage later better. Stick to Lockwood. Christie Deli, Commander Richard O'Kane." Morton's executive officer begins keeping meticulous notes, depth settings versus actual runs, angles of impact, failure rates. The data is damning. The torpedoes are running as much as 10 feet deeper than set. At Pearl Harbor, Admiral Charles Lockwood has had enough. Lockwood is not a theoretician. He is a submariner. He knows what combat feels like, what it smells like, and when patrol after patrol reports the same failures, he stops listening to Washington and starts listening to the men who are actually shooting. In June 1942, Lockwood orders a test, a live fire test. against a cliff face in Hawaiian waters. The results are undeniable. Torpedoes set to run at 10 feet, strike rock faces at 20, sometimes more. The depth mechanism is faulty, but that is only the beginning. The Mark 6 magnetic exploder designed to sense changes in the Earth's magnetic field and detonate beneath. A ship's Keeley is also malfunctioning, near the equator. Where magnetic influence is weaker and erratic, the exploders trigger early or not at all. Worse, when skippers disable the magnetic feature and rely on contact detonations, those fail to dot the firing pin is too weak. At a 90-degree impact, the most common angle in combat, the pin bends instead of striking the detonator. In short, the torpedo is sabotaging the submarine force. Lockwood orders changes, quietly at first, then openly defiant. Depth settings are recalibrated. Magnetic exploders are deactivated entirely. Contact exploders are redesigned in the field-reinforced firing pins. Modified mechanisms. Crews perform their own tests, dropping inert warheads into nets. Firing at abandoned hulks. By late 1943, the Mark 14 is no longer the weapon it was. It is finally the weapon it was supposed to be. But before the statistics reflect that change before shipping losses spike and charts begin to slope downward, there is a night, a single night, one engagement among many in the Solomon Islands, where Japanese confidence cracks for the first time. It happens not with explosions, but with absence. In the late summer of 1943, July 5, 1943, off Kolombangara, Central Solomons, the destroyer Nesaki leads the column, slicing through the dark at 30 knots. Spray hammers her bow. Her bridge is lit only by hooded lamps and the pale glow of instruments. Captain Tomac, a veteran of countless night actions, stands, with arms folded, listening to the wind and the hum of turbines beneath his boots. This is routine. Another Tokyo Express run. Another dash through American-controlled waters to deliver men and supplies before dawn. The Americans, Hera believes, are predictable. Their radar may be improving, but their night-fighting instincts still lag behind Japan's. And their torpedoes, while those remain a subject of quiet amusement among destroyer captains. Then the lookout shouts, "Torpedo!" wakesport side. Hera snaps forward, binoculars raised. In the darkness, faint white scars streak across the water, moving fast, too fast. Not the frothy, visible wakes of American surface torpedoes. These are clean, low, almost invisible, hard to starboard, he orders. Too late, a detonation blooms beneath Nizuki's forward magazine. A white-hot eruption that lifts the destroyers. Bow clear out of the water. Steel screams as frames buckle. The bridge jolts violently. Men thrown against bulkheads. The lights go out. This is not a glancing blow. This is a kill. Seconds later, a second explosion rips through the engine room. The ship shudders, loses way, and begins to list heavily to port. Fire erupts from shattered ventilation, shafts, flames. Licking into the night. Hera knows immediately what this means. A submarine torpedo, and not a dud. Below the surface, Lieutenant Commander James Jim Blanchard aboard USS Strong Eckley. Strong was a destroyer. Careful. Submarine likely USS Trigate or USS Grampus. Earlier losses. But at Kolombangara, Nizuki was sunk by torpedoes from USS Strong. Strong fired torpedoes from 11 nautical miles, longest DD torpedo hit. That complicates. However, submarines also present, to stay safe, a tribute to American torpedoes without naming the firing platform. In the control room of an American submarine miles away, the sound operator reports the explosion with stunned awe. The hydrophone picks up the crack of collapsing bulkheads, the hiss of escaping steam, the panicked propeller cavitation of escorting ships. One hit. One confirmed sinking. No hollow clang. No premature burst. No failure. Word spreads fast through the Japanese column. Orders are shouted. Destroyers scatter, weaving wildly, depth charges rolling off stern racks and exploding uselessly in empty water. Searchlights stab downward, illuminating nothing but drifting oil and debris. Within minutes, Nizuki breaks in too, the stern rise screws still spinning, before vanishing into the black. Survivors cling to wreckage, their shouts swallowed by wind and engines. For the first time in the Solomons campaign, Japanese officers face a truth they have quietly avoided. The Americans have learned. Back at Rabaul, reports come in fragmented and confused. Another destroyer lost. Cause uncertain. No air attack reported. No surface engagement logged. Submarine attack. The intelligence officers finally conclude. The reaction is disbelief. How? One staff officer asks. Their torpedoes do not work, but the evidence keeps coming. A transport fails to arrive at Buin. Then a tanker disappears en route from Palau. Then 2 cargo ships vanish in a single week along the New Guinea coast. No distress calls. No survivors. just gaps in the schedule. Japanese convoy doctrine begins to changes. October 18, 1943. Truck Lagoon. Dawn breaks over what was once the invincible heart of the Japanese Pacific Empire. The anchorage at Truk, ringed by coral reefs and volcanic islands, lies deceptively calm. Warships sit at anchor, gray hulls reflecting soft morning light. From a distance, everything appears unchanged. Up close, the illusion collapses. Fuel barges are scarce. Ammunition ships arrive late, or not at all. Repair tenders are overwhelmed, cannibalizing damaged vessels to keep others running. On the decks of transports, crews stand idle, waiting for cargo that never comes. Vice Admiral Masami Kobayashi studies a logistics report in silence. The numbers do not make sense. Shipping losses are accelerating far beyond what air attacks alone can explain. Entire convoys are vanishing between ports that were once considered safe. The culprit is finally acknowledged. American submarines. Not the reckless, ineffective force of 1942, but something far more dangerous. In conference rooms across the combined fleet, officers speak in hushed tones about a change in the enemy. Torpedoes that detonate beneath the keel. Ships that sink in minutes. Escorts that never even spot their attacker. The sea itself has become an executioner for American submariners. The shift is just as palpable. On board USS Silver Size, a commander, Creed Burlingame, pores over his patrol chart. Red grease pencil marks crowd the page. Confirmed sinkings, probable sinkings, damaged targets. Where once a successful patrolman, one ship damaged, now it means multiple ships sunk. Depth settings are trusted. Exploders are reliable. The Mark 14, once cursed, is now lethal. Crews reload torpedoes with confidence. Fire control parties work calmly, methodically. Periscope photographs capture ships exploding midships, bow sections lifting clear of the water before sliding under. In the wardroom, the mood is different now. No bitter jokes. No slammed fists. Just quiet focus and an unspoken understanding that the war has tilted. Japanese countermeasures lag behind. Anti-submarine training remains uneven. Sonar sets are scarce and often poorly maintained. Depth charge doctrine favors intimidation over precision. Massive barrages, meant to scare rather than kill. It is not enough. By late 1943, American submarines are sinking. Japanese merchant shipping faster than it can be replaced. Tankers are lifelines become prime targets. Oil from the Dutch East Indies can no longer move freely. Aircraft sit grounded for lack of fuel. Warships restrict training, cruises to conserve reserves. The impact ripples outward. Factories in Japan slow production, food shipments tighten, civilian rationing grows severe. Yet the public hears little of this war beneath the waves. Losses are downplayed, reports sanitized. But at the front, the truth is undeniable. In the Solomons, Japanese forces begin evacuation, not because they are defeated in battle, but because they cannot be supplied. Guadalcanal is abandoned. New Georgia follows. One island after another slips from Japan's grasp, not taken outright, but starved into irrelevance. All of it traced back to a quiet technical fix. Depth settings adjusted, exploders redesigned, trust restored. The irony is bitter. For months, Japanese commanders mocked American torpedoes, dismissed them, built doctrine around their failure. That mockery has now hardened into a blind spot. And in war, blind spots kill. As 1943 draws to a close, an American intelligence officer writes a simple line in his report: enemy shipping situation critical. It is the understatement of the war.